Hi, this is Jason, shaper and designer here at HYDRUS. Welcome to the shop. In this video, let's talk about shopping for a new inflatable paddleboard. First, I'd love to answer some of the more common questions that we get, like kayak seats on a paddleboard and are they worth it or not? And we also get asked a lot about 3 fins versus 1 and which setup might be better for you. And then there are some things that other brands talk about quite a bit, so we get asked, like, what is military grade PVC, or what are carbon fiber stringers or ultralight fusion technology? So we'll talk about that, and then let's cover HYDRUS boards and what makes them different from other premium and more expensive boards, and what makes them better than the cheap boards that are out there. And we'll cover how to choose the right size, shape, and model for you. To begin, let me start with this. Paddleboarding is a wonderful new sport, so there are a lot of beginners researching and trying to find useful information so they can make a good buying decision, which is great. Paddleboarding is a bit unprecedented given how big and how fast it's grown in popularity. When you combine that rapid growth with the internet, where anybody can seem to be an expert and give advice or make reviews, it can be tough to sort through what's true and useful or not. It would be nice if there was more standardized terminology and maybe review sites that were more knowledgeable themselves and not just trying to push sales. And I'm sure that with more time, things will chill out and become a lot less confusing. I talk a lot to our customers personally, and they say a lot of the same things. So at this point, I think that I might understand or have a good understanding of what you're going through. And I'll see if I can help you here. So once a sport has been around for a while, there's a certain level of, if you say or claim something untrue or that just doesn't really add up, you'll be called out on your BS pretty quickly. Paddleboarding is getting there, but you still see things like military grade PVC on a lot of brands' websites, which isn't really a thing at all. It's just fancy words, like putting lipstick on a pig, as the saying goes, or carbon fiber fabric on the rails of an inflatable to stiffen the board. Carbon fiber, it sounds cool and it can look cool. This is carbon fiber fabric that we use on our hardboards. Any fabric like this glued to the rail of an iSUP isn't going to do any stiffening. It just doesn't make any engineering sense. And to me, this sort of stuff is usually a red flag. Either the company doesn't know what they are doing, or they're just using fancy words and trying to trick people. Another interesting question that we get is about fin setup and whether 3 fins on a flat water board is really better than a single fin. And how I see this marketed by other companies, it can be pretty misleading. Any good board shaper knows that 3 small fins, like the ones being used by a lot of brands, which are cheap and small and flexible, they will be less stable and less efficient than a properly sized single fin. So, as far as the really low-cost boards that are out there, you can compare it to a lot of other sports that have been around for a long time, like mountain biking or skiing, for example. And in these sports, customers or shoppers, they know at this point that there's a huge difference in materials and quality and construction and performance between that $300 bike from Amazon or Costco or Walmart versus that $1,500 to $5,000 bike from a mountain bike store. There's just no comparison. And you can imagine if you have a friend that says they're trying to get into mountain biking or skiing, you're probably not going to tell them to go buy a cheap bike or skis off of Amazon or Costco or Walmart. And that's really similar to paddleboarding. In paddleboarding, there are a lot of different types of materials and construction and fins and shapes and so many other things. And I will say that if there's a board being sold for less than $700 or $800, it has to be seriously lacking somewhere. And I'll see boards out there for just $300 or $400. So a newer fad that is going around lately is the Fusion ultralight technology. Or different brands, they'll have different names for this. And it's not all bad. We use it ourselves on certain boards when it makes sense. So it's a big piece of machinery that heats and melts the core material of a board to the outer shell material of that board. And this saves weight and manufacturing costs because the binding material or adhesive that normally goes in between these two layers, it can be left out. And there's a big machine taking the place of manual labor, which cuts even more cost. And all of that is fine. It's good technology. The concern that I have is there's a lot of companies that are marketing this technology as the greatest thing ever. But then they go ahead and use a really cheap and thin PVC material, and they skimp in other areas, and then they sell ultra light boards to people that just don't know any better. You just have to be careful when you're shopping and realize that the lighter you get, less material is being used somewhere. And you can't get too light, otherwise a board will be fragile and really flexible. Now, kayak seats, like this. You can use kayak seats on our boards, and they will attach using these D-rings that we have here. We do have some in stock, but my advice is to try paddling sitting down or from your knees without one first. And you might be surprised with how easy it is. You might realize that you don't actually need one at all. And that would be one less thing to buy and have to strap on your board or carry with you. So they will fit on HYDRUS boards, but hold off on buying one, even from us. That's my opinion. Now on to our boards here. All of our inflatables are sold in package. You'll get a few different fin options for paddling in different types of water conditions. You'll get our mothership board backpack, a nice hand pump to inflate, an ankle or calf leash, and a repair kit, just in case you need it. Now, these boards are difficult to puncture, but if you do run into a nail on a dock or get a leak somehow, they should be easy to repair, and you should be able to repair it yourself. Now, the construction and materials of each of our different models is basically the same. We don't have our budget boards or some models that are better with more expensive construction. Now, my brother Nick and I, we had tested a lot of different materials and ideas over the years, some good ideas and some really bad ones, but all that trial and error has given us a lot of knowledge and experience that we wouldn't have otherwise had. And it's allowed us to come up with materials and ways of construction and shapes that are better and that we're proud of. So we just try to be really straightforward with customers. We give a lifetime warranty on the things that we build, and then we build gear that really performs, no gimmicks. We build small batches of each model. We sell out pretty quickly, but our philosophy is to take time on small batches versus trying to sell a really high volume of boards, which would sacrifice some attention to quality, and it would mean marking up prices to pay for a lot of sales reps and advertising and a lot of other overhead that doesn't really make the boards themselves any better. So, construction basics of HYDRUS boards. We use a drop stitch core with reinforced seams and triple layer rails. We use our composite reinforced shell material, which is 2 layers of our PVC material with a third abrasion-resistant material sandwiched in between. So the shell is stronger and it has noticeably less flex than other boards. So let's talk about the shapes. All of our boards are fast for what they're built for. We are big paddlers ourselves, and we have been for a long time. And we like boards that are shaped to paddle well. Rocker is a really big deal, and it usually gets completely overlooked on inflatables. Too little nose rocker, it'll throw a board off balance in choppy conditions, and it'll slow it down because you'll be pushing a lot of water or crashing into every wave. And no tail rocker, just fly straight out the back, it makes a board drag water with it instead of releasing that water off the tail. And dragging water makes that board noticeably slower, and it'll be less stable in chop. Another important thing to consider is the aspect ratio of each board, and that's the length compared to the width. If you go too wide on an all-around board, but too short, the board will be slow and it will have terrible tracking. It'll be zigzagging back and forth, and you'll be having to switch paddle sides every stroke. So if we build a board wider to get more stability, like for the Joyride XL, we make it longer as well, so it'll track straight and paddle faster. Our Joyride, the Joyride XL or Paradise models are the most popular boards, And they will be perfect for almost all paddlers. The Joyride here, or the Joyride XL, which is just larger than the Joyride, it really maxes out stability and comfort, but it also paddles really well. So the Joyride models are really versatile and truly what would be considered an all-around board. You can put a lot of weight on them. Two adults can be comfortable paddling tandem. You can put a cooler on board or kids, D-rings all over the place. They can be stable and perfect for fishing and going down rivers on with some smaller rapids. Or if you're confident with your stability and want some extra speed, the Paradise here might be perfect. It is our long distance paddling board or for fitness. It's fast, but not necessarily unstable. It's 30 inches wide, but not necessarily, too narrow. I'd have to say that for non-river paddling, it's my personal favorite inflatable board, and I know it's Angela's board as well, unless she's doing SUP yoga or going down a river, and then she'll grab a Joyride. Now the Freedom here is perfect for paddlers that want a more compact board, or perfect for traveling or hiking, or for ocean surfing. With the tail rocker and the size, it surfs great on longboard waves. Now this board is 4 inches thick versus 6 like the others, so it sacrifices some stability and rigidity, but it's perfect for paddlers who might just want a more compact, smaller board. The Axis is our whitewater river board that handles rivers for downriver and surfing. Now the Party board, which I don't have one here, is huge. It's 14 foot by 54 inches wide. You could paddle easily with 4 to 6 adults on it. Me and the kids, or the adults, or kid adults, adult kids. We've had some great times on this board. We've caught a lot of fish off of it. Great time on rivers or just cruising around lakes. I could go on and on about this board. So I think that probably wraps it up. I really hope this video helps. Thanks for watching, and make sure to check out the product pages on our website for more specific information on each board. And thank you so much for the support. It means a lot. Paddleboarding is an amazing sport, and we are honored to be able to support it and paddlers like you. Thank you. Get out there and enjoy the water.